Hello and welcome to the Neurodivergent Show with me, Imo Folami. This is the Neurodivergent Show where we discuss all things ADHD, OCD, dyslexia, and autism. Today we're going to be discussing how to thrive with ADHD, and who better to do this with than our own ADHD. Um, She's such a strong force, strong influence for the ADHD community. And today she's going to be sharing our wisdom with us, letting us in on what it feels like to live with ADHD and how to thrive with ADHD. So if you're a parent, and you've been wondering, oh, my kid's got ADHD. How am I going to do this? How is my kid going to navigate life? Or if you have ADHD yourself, or you just want to learn more about ADHD and the world around you, I promise you today, Kenzie is going to blow your mind. Let me bring her in real quick. Hi, gal. Hi, Kenzie. Well,
Hello. Thank you for
good,
having
good
me.
to have
Super
you back.
excited.
Excited. Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? Thank
I'm
you.
good. Thank you so much, and thank you for coming. Thank you for coming to our show. We appreciate you. The last time you were here, people had so many great things to say. They learned so
Oh,
you. I'm sure many people are excited that you're here um, again tonight and cannot wait to hear from you. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
thank you. Yes, I am Kenzie. I am 27, about to turn 28 in a month. At the end of April, I'm getting closer to that 30 mark, and it's kind of freaking me out.
Excited.
But I am a nurse. I've been a nurse for 3 years. I work at Mansfield Methodist Medical Center. I've worked there for a total of going on 9 years, and I love what I do. And then I am engaged, so I am planning a wedding. So that's been very fun and just interesting to see how planning and organizing with a neurodivergent mind is.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're going to get into everything today. I kind of love weddings. I absolutely love weddings. They are like, I don't know, I'm obsessed with weddings. I don't know, wedding planner. And I'm so excited for you. Congratulations, girl. I mean,
Thank you. Thank you so much.
let me just say that Kenzie is such a happy soul to be with. She is one that's always encouraging others, always cheerful, and I I love her being my friend. She's one of she's good. She's one of them good ones.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's get into it. The last time you were on the show, we went on to talk about, how it was for you, your background, ADHD and all, and we're gonna pick it up some from here. We wanna talk about how to thrive as an ADHDer. But before we get into all that, we want people to understand some of your struggles, right? People don't understand what it feels like to live in your world, to have your kind of brain, to to um to be you. And sometimes some of the things you may do or may not do may be, it may be taken as, oh, what's wrong with this girl, or why does she act this way. But I feel like when people get to understand you more and know that, oh, she's neurodivergent, I see why, they can kind of get you, understand you, and maybe they can see things from your own angle. So today, I want you to share with us just regular ADHD, you know, everyday life challenges, the one you remember. You can talk about, you can start from, the things you remember while growing up, your struggles, and then you can talk about school. You can talk about now that you are married, you're getting married, relationship, some of your struggles at work. We want to hear from you, but let's start with growing up. What was it like for you in terms of your struggles now? Let's discuss that.
Yes, so I was never diagnosed with ADHD until later on in life, until after I was basically a young adult. And growing up, I always knew that, I was different than others, and I would compare myself a lot, especially academically and in school. And I just never really caught on to things as fast as everyone else did because my mind would be flitting and focusing on different things that I didn't need to be focusing on. I remember just like flashbacks from childhood of like having issues even reading. Like I think it was kindergarten or first grade. Like I remember them having to call my mom and be like, "Hey, so she's not doing so well, blah blah blah. Like work with her at home for this." And then I think the next like moment that is kind of burned in my brain is not or being very close to not passing fifth grade. So fifth grade was I think there's a step up in math in that area of the curriculum. And I really struggle with math. And thank God I did pass it. I went to summer school, but it was also having to do with test anxiety and the tax test now that it's called the STAR test in Texas. That's the test that the schools use to move on to the next grade and to judge the learning and the capability of the student. And then nursing school was a huge, high school was okay. I kind of would engross myself in other things like sports. I was constantly busy with sports and extracurricular activities. And so that kind of gave my mind a let out, another thing to focus on, which was well for my discipline as well. And then nursing school was a huge struggle because nursing school, as y'all know, it is one of the hardest and toughest things that anyone has got to go through college, and that was really difficult for me.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that in a nutshell. Your struggle. Um, you mentioned things about struggling through school, um, not being able to. I think you said something about mathematics, though. Do you
Mhm.
think that stems from ADHD, or is it? I know there's dyscalculia or something. Do you think that's another diagnosis, or do you think many people with ADHD would also struggle with things like math or things like that, or it just depends on the spectrum? What do you think?
Yeah. So I have met parents with kids that have struggled with mathematics, but I also was tested for dyslexia, and I do have dyslexia, and I do have, and of course with dyslexia it's really hard with the numbers and there's a lot of flip flopping and moving things around. So that also did not help. And then I also, on top of that, was diagnosed with like a numerical math learning disability.
Okay.
And I found that out in doing my prerequisites in nursing school because I was doing great in science. I was making A plus in science and other more interesting to me fields. But when it came to math, and algebra and anything with numbers in it, I just didn't get it. It didn't click, and it still has never clicked in my head, and I just don't understand it. It's just a whole new language, and it bores me, and I can't focus, and I just don't like it.
Hmm, very interesting. Can you tell me more about mathematics and your struggle? So, what's with you in math? I know you said something about dyslexia, but we're trying to help you
Mhm.
with it. So, is it just calculating? Is it that the numbers would appear weird to you? What is it about math that just throws you off, really?
Yeah, so it's the numbers, and I have also seen other people like when I even count, like when I count a number, my brain, like let's say five, like how I knew five was, which I don't know if this is like a way of learning or that I was taught, but it's like I still sometimes to this day have to go like do the dots on the number. So certain things have stuck in my head, but division, and that's the worst. I always was terrible at division. I can add pretty quickly and subtract, but once that number goes above a certain, like once it hits double digits, when it comes to subtracting and adding, if it doesn't have like a zero behind it, for some reason my brain just doesn't grasp it. It's really hard for me to memorize the multiplication tables. Any memorization when it comes to spelling, I was never in a spelling bee. I was in a vocabulary bee because I understood the meaning of things and what things mean. I just don't know how to spell it out or write it out or add or subtract. So my mind, like I knew things and what they meant, but when it comes to like the numerical side of things, I just don't get it. I don't know if there's something in my right brain that's, not firing correctly. But it's, and of course with meds, which is a whole nother topic, that does help. But
Yeah.
still math has just never been my thing.
You know what? It's funny that you mentioned that that's just the way your brain is. Like your brain cannot
Mm-hmm.
numbers once it's modern, a certain number, I should say, your brain cannot pick it. And you know what? It actually, and you cannot, you don't, your brain cannot grasp the multiplication
Mm-hmm.
table. And people, you should know that this is not someone who is not smart. You heard her say she's acing all her other sciences and stuff, but it's just certain things, specific things. And you
Mm-hmm.
know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of back in Africa when would have people that like every morning would have to recite the multiplication table, and if you're not able to do that, if anybody remembers Africa, you get some spanking. And I wonder if that would have been a fair punishment to those that have dyslexia, like
Mm-hmm.
because now some of us just couldn't be bothered. We just didn't want to memorize it. We were just lazy or we forgot to do the assignment. But there's some people, just because of the way their brain's been wired, they just cannot grasp the number. My husband, when he reads for a certain, like he just studies, he can, like once he studies for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, that's it. It's like he cannot go further.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so funny that some people still do not believe like that's a thing. They still believe like
Yeah.
it's people being lazy, or it's, we're trying to tell you now from experiences that we've seen that it's not the same. People's brains wire differently, and Kenzie has let us know from a dyslexia diagnosis that she cannot focus. She can sometimes for too long on certain things. She cannot spell. So if you're a mom and you've had ideas of your kid, being in the spelling bee and going to the championship and nationals or whatever, if you have a kid that is dyslexic, they may not be able to, and you have to recognize that and understand that,
Mm-hmm.
because only in doing that will you maybe not force the kid, or make negative of the fact that the kid just cannot do it, and just understand the kid and help the kid in their strengths instead of just
Mm-hmm.
focusing on the things they cannot do. Wow. Thank
Correct.
you for
And
sharing that.
speaking of, I did want to share one thing. So whenever you said like but the brain is wired different, and like no, yes, I may have a problem with certain things, but I'm not overall like not intelligent. Um, I always, and I thought it was hilarious, but I was the president of the honor society
Wow.
of my nursing school, and I was the president. And then I would on my doses calc. With our calculations with our medications and everything, I would absolutely barely pass that, but I was still making these amazing grades and A pluses, and I was the president of the smartest, club in
Right.
school. But
Uh,
here I am, struggling with things, and so a lot of times people don't see that, and they just think, oh, that person's really smart. Like, no, there comes a lot of work with that and discipline and having to work longer than others normally do.
Yeah. And this whole idea of someone's smart and someone's not, I found out that it's actually it's incorrect. Because
Mm-hmm.
someone is not book smart or not smart in certain things does not make them not smart. It just means that they're not smart in that thing, that particular thing. It could be math, it could be English, but it could be just be the best when it comes to swimming, when it comes to sports, when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
things, and that makes them smart in that. So I hope parents can understand, and people also can understand that, using this term sometimes it's not, I feel like it doesn't capture it. I feel like it's not it shouldn't be an appropriate term, especially for kids, because it has a way also of affecting kids. And then kids feel like, oh, because I cannot spell like my other friends, I'm dull. They're not. They're just, their brain sometimes may just not be wired in that particular way. And some people could just be acting in their gifts, right? Because my own kids they like books, they like reading, they like spelling and stuff like that. And I won't be surprised if they had a sibling who cannot do that quite early. And as parents or as a society, generally, we must understand that people are different. Neurodivergents, especially, their brains been wired differently. There's some side, the left side. Some, it's just some places are like developed way beyond, and some people, some parts are not as developed. And so when we understand people as such and we just relate to them in that way, I think life will be better for everybody. So you've talked,
Mhm.
shared with us your struggle in school, growing up, especially. Can you now share with us your struggle with work now? I know you mentioned a few things the last time we were here about medications and stuff, but what about
Mhm.
in terms of just, waking up, going to work, nursing as a whole? What is like a typical ADHD struggle with work, with nursing, if that person is a nurse?
Yes, so nursing is a very special calling.
Mhm.
And sometimes people think nursing as, oh, they just take care of people, you know. And it really depends on which floor you're on. So we are a medical surgical floor. So we have patients that are going to surgery, about to go to surgery, and about to go home from after having surgery. And there's a lot of medications that we have to pass, and a lot of our community are older and they do take more meds to prolong their life and create a healthier life. And sometimes these meds, so we can have actually up to 5 patients a day when you're a staff nurse. And
That's
so um,
sense.
there's 5 patients, 5 whole people, and then each person is going to have up to these certain amount of meds that you have to pass before a certain amount of time. And that is very task oriented, and nursing itself is very task oriented because you're getting a call that you need it in this room, you need that, the tech needs help in this room. And so it's constant fire of you are needing to be pulled in all these different ways.
Yeah.
And you have these tasks that you need to do, these dressing changes. And so being organized, I feel like, is key. And when I was a staff nurse, I am in a different position now. But when I was a staff nurse, I had to make my own. It was laminated, and I had to get these like cute little markers to make it fun, and they had erasers on the other side. But I would have to write down each room number and then what I had to do for each person at what time,
Uh,
because that's how un- because of my brain and how my focusing can be different. And then comes along with focusing and all these tasks come anxiety, and that's a whole nother issue, because you're anxious about all these things that you need to do and they need to get done. And then you're worried about the emotional health of the patient, the physical health of the patient. So it's just a lot when it comes to work. And I feel like patience is key. Your like support is a really special thing that I think that we have at our hospital. My bosses know that my brain's different, and we do also have a lot of other nurses and techs that do have ADHD and are neurodivergent. And I think it's also a beautiful thing to work with those same people that understand what you're going through.
it is. We have a few people here giving you a shout out. CS19XX says, YouTube star. I think she is. She is made for YouTube. Just says, hey, Emo, hey, Kenzie, thank you for discussing this and being so transparent with us. We appreciate you, Juno. I want to believe that is. Thank you, guys. If you're here live with us, we want you to go ahead and say hi to us. Would like to give you a shout out and go ahead also and say hi to Kenzie. It's not easy being on this show and, being so open and, sharing a part of yourself. So let's encourage her. Let's let her know we love her and we appreciate her for all that she does. Thank you guys for joining us. So I want to talk to you about something because the other day I was on the floor and then somebody just told me something and I think something was supposed to happen and she was like, I forgot to do it. And I was like, oh, you're not supposed to do that. You're an RN and stuff and stuff. Usually should write things down because I kind of feel like maybe that person has ADHD or so. But it was when I got home, I started thinking about it. And I was like that with ADHD, many times I've had that you guys just forget. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not like you plan to forget or you chose to forget or you just forget and that's it. Can you walk us through that and what it, because some parents would just say, my kid's done the homework and just didn't turn it in. Like, and the kid, when you ask the kid will say, I just forgot. And they're like, no, that's irresponsible.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think irresponsible is the word now, or do you think that that's just ADHD, like things like that? Can you share with us?
Yeah, so I know exactly what you're talking about because I struggled that a lot through school and just the daily life of planning things. So like the way our brain works is that we have multiple, like I like to describe it as kind of like a computer, like with multiple tabs open. And when we have too many tabs open, those tabs will get clustered with too much stuff, and then it's like a mountain, like all the tabs will come up and then one will just fall down. And that one
Mm,
is us forgetting to do that because we have so much to worry about constantly. And it's little things that we also worry about that overcloud our judgment that really necessarily other people won't overthink about. And so I have forgotten very, very significant things. I've forgotten dates, I've forgotten tasks. And the whole homework thing, that's totally true. I did that a lot through nursing school. I would do the paper, and have 3 days left to turn it in. And then I wouldn't turn it in. And I did all this work, but I got no credit for it. And of course, I got a zero. And it didn't matter if you turned it in a day late and said, "Hey, I'm so sorry. I forgot to turn it in." Like, that's not how school and college works. And, I wish that they would be more aware of each person. And I think the answer to that is just being extra organized. And I myself have to set multiple alarms. When you go through my phone, everyone makes fun of me at work because I have literally, I would say probably up to like, I don't know, like 70 different alarms of each time. Because again, like the multiple tabs in my brain, I don't want to delete it, or this is how my brain thinks. I don't want to delete it because I know I'm gonna have to go back to it. And even like when I'm on a computer, I have multiple tabs open because I think that I may need that. So I have to myself not only have a planner, with me, I have to have a planner on my phone. I have to have a planner hanging on the wall that I see. So it's multiple reminders. And I love using sticky notes at work because I can stick it everywhere and my eyes are forced to see it. So organization, I feel like, is key when it comes to that. But yes, I will forget everything. I will forget to text you back. I'll forget to call you. I have forgotten things about planning my own life and like my own wedding. I just forget to do things. And that is a part, I think, of one of our misfirings is it just doesn't connect in our brain. And it just, blues, like just whoop, just drops off of you know, our important stuff that we think about.
thank you so much for that. We have a question for you here. Jay Shilton's asking Kenzie, what's okay? What did you start doing to create strategies to help yourself? Like the reminders you use at work, did you get help from anywhere? So she wants to know how you got about this. Did someone teach you how to do that? Did you have to learn it by yourself? Yes, go ahead.
So some of that was self made because everyone is going to learn different, especially with our neurodivergent brains. Some people, the sticky notes may work, and some may not work because they'll just overthink that and overlook it.
Mm,
I myself had to learn through trial and error. I had to have those moments of the terrible bad grades or having need to repeat a class to learn. And when you repeat a class in college, it is not free. It is up to $1,000, and you have to learn through those trial and errors. I had help with some resources at my college. It's the Disability Center. So each student or each college should have one, and it's available to any student. And they help with strategies and tasks to help you learn better and have your brain be more of a sponge and keep it in, because our ADHD brains a lot of times will learn something and then like 3 days later it's out the window. And then if we need to relearn that like down the line, that's a whole nother relearn thing that we have to go through. But also like YouTube here and there will also help. I'm like when I scroll through TikTok on my For You page, it brings up a lot of ADHD stuff. And I didn't realize until social media was real big that other people suffer from ADHD and forgetting things, and they suffer from losing things. You know, I've lost many items and they just disappear because my brain doesn't think that it's important at that time when actually it is important. And many things can go wrong. And when they do go wrong, it's just about learning through it and trying to prevent that from happening again and what strategies I can come up with to fix that.
That is beautifully said. Thank you. I hope, Janu, I hope she's answered your question. Basically, I think what Lily has also said is what I got from what you said rather is um, ADHD is a spectrum, and what may work for somebody may not work for the other person. However, some of the things that have worked for her is sticky notes, alarms, um, just being conscious, like, just reminding ourselves every time, like, I have to be on top of things, you know, s- unlike neurotypicals, the executive function, that part of our brain is a little bit, it's just like developed the way it should go. So, the brain automatically fires and lets you know, like, something is already telling you something is due, but it is not so for many ADHDers. And so you have to, like, get a supplement, if you may, and just look at these things. And what she's also said is she's gone online, tried different things, seen which one works for her, seen which one doesn't work for her, and try to do those that work for her well. Thank you for mentioning that, because we were just still talking about your struggles, and we're going to talk about what you've been able to do to just to help with that, living in a neurotypical world. So I think you already answered that one. So when we go back to talk about how to thrive, we probably wouldn't, go into um, work as much, because you already answered it. But Lily has a question for you. She says, how did you focus on nursing exam while in school? Also, were you fidgety while taking exams? Thank you, Lily. Thank you, Lily. We appreciate your comment. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, and to quickly add on strategies to help, I also forgot that I have to write daily lists. Like I have to put the date and then pinpoints of the list that I have to complete. But back on the school subject. Um, so in nursing school, it was during my prereqs is when I realized that this is ridiculous and I am not focusing. I have to sit myself in the front of the class because if I sit in the back of the class, I will constantly be watching other people and looking and comparing myself to them. And then I would always be the last person done with the test, and that would give me anxiety. I had major test anxiety. And then if someone were to get up in front of me or like next to me and they were done, that would make my brain go off to another location of where I was not thinking about the test and the answers that I needed to do. So I realized that I had an issue when I was not making the correct grades that I needed on anatomy and physiology and nursing. Those are really important courses. And to get into nursing school, you have to make great grades. And so I had to repeat a bunch of classes. It took me 6 years to become a nurse when the normal time is 4. And it was a very turning it was a huge turning point in my life because I had to realize that I just can't shove this under the rug. I have to get help. I have to reach out for help. I have to realize that I'm not like these other students, and that's okay. I thrive at certain things that they don't, and they thrive on certain things that I don't. Um, and so I reached out to I would just go to my professor and be like, hey, I'm obviously not understanding this and getting this like the other students are, and it's really bothering me. And one of my professors at the time, and it was a math course, said that I should reach out to the disability center. And that really, it kind of, the word disability really, to me, kind of scared me. And I don't like that word because to me, a disability is a negative
A,
outlook on life.
a,
Um, and I don't think that having ADHD or dyslexia or test anxiety can totally be negative. I think we can use that to focus more on things and to sculpt ourself into different people and just how we think, and then spreading the word of what we can do with our brains to thrive in our world of neurodivergence. So the center was able to give me resources. I would take my test instead of with the whole class. I would leave, and all my close friends would know, oh, yeah, she's going to the disability center. And I would have my own area to take an exam. So I wasn't like, focusing on somewhere over there on my right or my left or behind me. It was just like a cubicle, and that's all I could see. So I was forced to look at the piece of paper and not focus on other things.
Hmm. That is well said. We have another question for you. Jake Shelton says, my son is 13 and he wants to write on his hand to remember things at school. I'd like to suggest something different and not so permanent. Any suggestion or thoughts should he?
Yes, so that's funny that you said that, because I had stuff on my hands earlier, and I was like, oh no, I can't have that in my hands because I talk with my hands. I'm gonna have to go wash that off before the show. And the reason why he is putting it on his hand is because, like I said, the way we think, we need constant reminders, and our hand is something that we look at 24/7. And so that helps people. And sometimes I tell people that I would just wish that my brain had an ability to put sticky notes like in my brain, like in my field of vision. But sadly, I can't. And so I think maybe having a daily list, that's what I do. Sometimes I don't put it on regular paper. I put it on like cardstock so it doesn't fold or get ripped easily. And I can put it in my pocket, or in my clothes or in my purse or in my bag. And that has bullet points of what needs to be done throughout the day. And even some planners have the day per hour. So it's like 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m. So that helped me through nursing school because I was able to focus per hour of the day. And I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous to break the 24 hours of a day up, but sometimes that's what it takes for our brains to grasp something, because we can't. It's just like a misfiring in there. And anything that we can do to get us to remember these tiny details of our lives that are actually very important and growing up and succeeding, will help us. So with the hand, I totally understand that. Maybe something that's laminated that has like like the dry like eraser, that could help. I know through school
Is
I had a dry erase on my board, and that would really help me.
I was asking, I said, I'm just thinking, just trying to put myself in the mind of an ADHD. And because I grew up with an ADHD, and I can just imagine my brother not remembering to even check the laminated thing. I think the saying is, if it helps, it helps, really.
Hmm.
If it helps, it helps. It may look weird, but right now, one of the things we have to understand is ADHDers, their life is already very hard, right? Um, they are in a neurotypical world. They are neurodivergents that are in neurotypical world, and somehow they just have to adjust. They have to try twice as hard, even more than neurotypicals, just to be able to succeed. And so I feel like we can cut them some slack. And even if it may seem weird to some people, really, if it helps, it helps. If if as a society we can just close our eyes to things and stop bothering about things, because a kid writing on his hand may seem weird to some people, but we should get to a place as a society where parents do not need to feel like oh, that can look weird. Parents should actually encourage their kids, because when we're more accepting as a society, then everyone is just we're just happy, we're just better for it. So I don't know, I'm not an ADHDer, but Kinsey, I'm saying if it helps, it helps. I cannot speak for you, but I kind of feel like we should give them grace. We should cut them some slack. Let them just do whatever it is that can work for them at that particular time. to help them succeed. I mean, writing on their hands is not going to hurt anybody. It's not, apart from the people that would look, and let them look anyway. But I'm just like, if it helps, it helps. If that's the way they can do it, then I guess yes. Okay. Oh yeah. Yes, Jay Shelton says we've tried Lee stickers, rubber hand on the wrist. Yeah, I can just shake my head remembering my brother right now. Maybe we can start on the hand and then move to a list. Absolutely. If it helps him, if it's, because the hand, like you said, is very close. So even if he forgets at some point he may have to do something with his hand, and then he sees them like, oh yes, I have to do that. And if he can get reminders, something that'll probably vibrate on his pocket every time, just remind, not make noise in the class, just maybe like a pager or something. I'm not sure how that works, but just something that can just like it can that can remind him, that can speak to him or vibrate on him, something he would have to touch to remember, like, okay, this is what I need to do at this particular time. And then, if that helps. I don't know if that makes any sense, Kenzie.
It does, yes, it does. And that reminds me of like the vibration. This is kind of like a nursey topic, but there's an app that's called MetaSafe, and it's for patients to remember taking their meds. And you have to set up a buddy. And that buddy, so like for example, my mom has this app. I learned about it through nursing school. I downloaded it on her phone, and you have to connect with someone else, so someone else is held like reliable. And I will also get notifications if she like missed a dose or didn't take her meds, and it will like pop up on my like screen that says, "Oh, Tina didn't take her meds." So then that is me getting a reminder. Oh, hey, I need to let my mom know. And so if there's any, I mean, there's apps for everything. So maybe there's an app for remembering things, and where you have to literally like go and press it and check it off or like scratch it off.
Yeah.
But I go through so much paper, but by doing like my daily list, just because when I write stuff,
Yeah.
instead of typing it, it stays in my brain. I feel like way deeper and longer when I write it out with the muscle memory.
I feel like you just came up with. I feel like you just like an invention has just been made for ADHD people, ADHDers, such that it may not be like if we can just have something. I know there, of course, we have tons of things out there, but what I'm just envisioning is so there is like a screen that just
Mhm.
like that tells you what to do, like you said, and then you have like a body, like a parent or somebody that keeps reminding you, hey, you haven't turned in your assignment, and it vibrates. So we don't have it doesn't have thing you cannot access things like TikTok, or so you have less distraction. So what that screen does is it just constantly reminds you of the things you need to do, vibrate whatever it rings, whatever it has to do, it does. And then you have a body, just that somebody's looking out and making sure that you've acknowledged it or something, and then you've done it at that time. I think that would be beautiful for ADHDers, and I think somebody should get on it. Maybe you, Kinsey, or maybe both of us. We should let's talk some more. Okay.
I know we may need to patent that.
I know. Thank you guys for sharing. If you're just joining us, this is the Neurodivergent Show. I'm Imo, and I also have Kenzie here. We're discussing thriving. We're discussing ADHD and how to thrive in a neurotypical world. And Kenzie has been so gracious to share a story with us and also giving us encouragement as to what the kind of things to do and resources to get out there. Okay, so quickly, we're going to turn on the phone lines for those who would want to call in, ask questions, contributions. You'd like to get in on it. If you have something you'd like to ask Kinsey, just anything. The number to call is 817-935-8734. That's 817-935-8734. Kinsey, let's discuss meds real quick. Okay, let's discuss. Jay Shelton says that would be great for me. Absolutely. I feel like that would be great. That would be great. Linda says, hi, Kinsey. Hi, Emo. Thank you. Thank you, Linda. Appreciate you for checking in. And if you're here, please go ahead and say hi to us. We would like to know that you're here with us and we're doing this together. Thank you, guys. Okay, so quickly, let's discuss meds. Okay. So when did you start? What was life like before ADHD meds and after ADHD meds? Plus, when did you start taking ADHD meds? And why?
So my ADHD meds have only been started very recently, and I think that's because when I also think there's a stigma on ADHD meds, and I think any type of mental issue medication in general. And so I went through all of my college, my nursing education, my childhood without being on any meds. And
Just
the first
you
time
we're
that
not
I
meds.
tried,
Sorry to cut you,
you're
Kenzie.
fine.
I was asking, do you think the reason
Yeah.
you were not put on meds was just because of the stigma and just the things that's just associated with the meds, not necessarily the benefits, but the kind of things that can go wrong with?
Yes.
Do you think that's
So
why?
I feel like, yeah, for sure. So I feel like as a parent, my mom was not made aware of that of ADHD, dyslexia, or anything, and I feel like that they wanted to try that they just weren't educated enough and they didn't have the resources. And I feel like now, with the growing population speaking out about it and educating others and saying that you're not alone, you and your child are not alone. I also have a child that's like this. I feel like the community is growing and we're giving more grace and patience when it comes to that. And I think that's why more people are putting their children and their loved ones on medications, and they're actually realizing it is okay to get help. It's okay that you have to thrive off of a chemical that's in a pill versus you not having, that chemical and struggling through life without that medication. And even if I have to medicate myself, I feel like that is just something that's so minuscule and so tiny compared to all of life. And I feel like the judgment of others is not worth it. Now, I myself struggle with that. I'm a people pleaser. Um, and so I feel like just education is key and spreading awareness also on the medication that it is not, that it is the stigma needs to be dissolved from the medication community.
How was life before medication for you?
So, life for me, I would like to explain it as like a blur. Like I was living in some sort of like reality that everything was foggy and just loose. There was no discipline, there was no strategies, there was no do this, and if you don't do this, this is going to happen. There was no, okay, I need to get this done for this deadline because this will happen. I feel like with meds, I'm able to realize the deadlines. I'm able to realize the importance of things. I'm able to have those multiple tabs open in my head and not freak out about it. I'm able to have, 14 things on my to do list and get most of those done or all of them done versus me getting two of them done and then freaking out so much about those other 12 things that I need to do, that my brain is clouded by the anxiety and the worry of not getting those things done and what's going to happen. I can more prioritize, and I think the word prioritize is a good word to use with the benefits of the medication.
Wow. So you're saying that after you started taking medication, you feel like it supplemented that part of your brain that
Mm-hmm.
the I wouldn't want to call it deficit because I don't want it's not negative. It's just the way the brain is, but it's supplemented for that part that's not the way a neurotypical's brain is, and so it helped you realize so many things. This is what I tell people when people say, "Oh, medication, ADHD meds." I'm like, I kind of get why we are very concerned, about ADHD meds. But I'm like, what about the quality of life though?
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I'm like, we're worried about what's going to happen 50 years from now, 60 years from now when the person gets it. But have we stopped to consider the first 60 years? And I'm not saying that we should, give into any psych medication that we know that may have long-term effect in future and stuff. But I'm like, we also have to consider that if medications help. Because if somebody is not thriving well in life and not thriving well in school, and medication has been helpful to do that, and why not let's give them? Plus, even many of the side effects that people keep talking about, it's more like a speculation because
Mm-hmm.
the thought is, of course, it's psych medication, and psych medication would most likely should have, long-term effects and stuff and all. But we do not even have enough evidence to back up, to point out right now as to the fact that ADHD meds, Adderall, and all of them would cause any long-term effect. You can Google it. That's the truth. Many of the things we have now, they're just speculations. And I'm like, the quality of life matters. If medication
Mm-hmm.
gives that supplement, if it helps, it helps. And we have to stop being so judgmental. And so I know that, and I understand the concerns, but I'm also trying to help us and get us to see the suffering or the struggle of ADHDers. And if it can be helpful for them, why not? Kinsey,
Yeah.
so what would you say to parents who are hesitant? Because some parents are probably like your mom and it's saying things like, "Oh no, we're just going to try it out. We're going to wait and see," and the kid's struggling.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you have to say to them? What do you wish they would change? What do you wish your mom, if you could go back now, or if you had your kid, let's say you had your kid, what are the things you would do based on your own experience?
Yeah, so I love that topic. I would change a lot of things. I feel like knowing and kind of realizing that a child is not learning correctly or off a bit, um, and knowing that it's okay to seek help and not just, shove it under the rug. Um, and I feel like any mental illness should be treated like that. That it's like you said, a quality over a quantity of life. If someone is struggling with a learning disability or ADHD or dyslexia, they can struggle for a short amount of time, and that can cause other issues like depression and anxiety, because if you're going through life and you always forget stuff and you're like running into doors and you're like, I've been told by many family members and friends that I have a flitty brain and I forget things, and I go to the car, and go to drive, and I'm like, oh no, I forgot to do this. I'm coming back into the house and then go back to the car, and then, oh, I forgot this, back and forth. That can put you late to certain things. I have spent, I don't know how much money retaking classes. So it not only affects your emotional health, but it can affect your financial health. You're going to have to retake classes and spend money and forget things. And there's special things that you may forget that could cause a different, outcome. And so I would, when I raise my child, I feel like I'm going to be more present when it comes to their learning capabilities and how they learn. And I feel like giving grace and patience and realizing that it's okay to try medication and seek help. I totally understand the trying the natural route and like taking like the dyes out and stuff like that, because that does help. But at some point, that can only take someone so far. And I've had multiple friends with multiple children that they have tried the natural route and then that doesn't work. And also bullying. Your kid may sadly get bullied because of the way they're learning or ADHD and the way their mind works. You wouldn't want them to continue being bullied. If there is a outcome that you could help them with, I feel like that would be amazing to give them that to make their quality of life so much better, because you made that child, and your love for them is immense and you want them to have the best life ever. And sometimes they're going to need help, and that help is medication, and it's a chemical that is man-made, and that's okay, but that's going to make their life so much better.
Can you share some of the side effects you've seen with the medication? Quickly, let's just
Yes.
about rounding off. So, because I know some parents are not just worried about the long term. Let's discuss the short term. I mean, you've experienced it. You're taking medication right now. So,
Mhm.
what side effects have you noticed?
So there is a lowered appetite, and that lower appetite comes in the time intervals of when you're taking the med. So, like, if I take the medication, let's say after I wake up at 6 a.m., and that means if I did not have breakfast already, So my tip and trick is to eat right after you wake up and then take the med, because you're still hungry because you haven't taken the medication. Because I think breakfast is a really important meal. But you're not going to want to eat after you take that med for a good 6 hours. You're still, and it really depends on the level of drug, and it also depends on your level of hormones and everything like that. But the appetite is lowered. And there's tips and tricks to get around that. People lose weight. I did lose weight compared to not being on it. And some people are trying to lose weight and some people are not trying to lose weight. So there's ways that you can fix the dosage and talk to your doctor, and there's different drugs that also have the same side effects but not as strong. And then also, if I were like, let's say I decided to take it on my day off and I slept in and I took it at, I don't know, 9:30 or 10, that's probably on the later side, because it is a stimulant. But our brains take it differently uh, than a stimulant. It's later on in the day, like around 7, 6 o'clock, 8, somewhere in that time. I may not be as tired as I would be without taking the med. So if I know that I need to be in bed early for work the next day, and I'm off that day, I won't take it unless I have a lot of things that I need to get done. So it's just about making a plan and planning out your week and strategizing it, and working around those side effects. Everything is going to have a side effect. Everything
And not
that you
taking
put in
it
your body.
has its own effects as well.
Correct. Yeah. And
And
everyone's different. There's kids that are going through puberty.
I said, as medical practitioners, we have to look at benefits outweighing the risk and look at,
Correct.
what's is it beneficial enough to want to get on, and let's look at the risk, let's look at the side effects,
Mm-hmm.
weigh them, and if we realize that the advantage of taking them is more than disadvantage, then we take them. But be on the lookout for stuff and see how you can find ways to walk around it. Many beautiful things, brilliant things, like Kinsey has pointed out. Go ahead. You were going to say something before I cut you. Sorry, Han.
Yes. So, like you said, the benefits versus the risks. So, it took me 7 years to graduate nursing school, when the normal person, my friend, took, 4 years. So that to me was a risk of not taking a medication. And I took that risk. And now I have multiple loans that are very high in like 45,000 area. And to me, if I took those meds during my schooling, I feel like I would not have as many loans. I feel like I would be able to get done with school earlier, which means I would have started an externship and an internship faster. And I would have climbed the ladder so much quicker and had more experience quicker. I'm 27, and I started, I think, when I was 25 when I graduated nursing school, or 26. So most of these people that are coming in to work after being new nurses are like 21, 22. They're young. And it kind of still hits me and makes me like, oh, that was such a, not that it was a waste, but it prolonged my education. And if I were to just be on one medication a day, that is so simple, that is a outcome that could have changed my whole life. And to me, when I talk to parents, I tell them that when you decide or not decide to put them on, just weigh the benefits versus the risks, and the amount of school that they have and the length and how they learn. And that's really, when it comes to meds, is that I wish I would have taken that before nursing school, and actually in high school and junior high as well.
Wow. So, parents, there you have it. I mean, many times I say that sometimes we feel like our kids don't want certain things or they don't need certain things, but you realize eventually, if you take yourself away from them and if you do your research well enough, you find out that those things may actually be very beneficial to them. And then when they grow up, they're just going to go get it themselves. And it would have been a waste of time, like Kinsey said,
Mm-hmm.
waste of money, waste of resources. Everything could have been avoided if we had just done our research, spoken to the doctor, started with things like maybe the lowest dose just for those side effects, see what the lowest dose is able to do. And then maybe you want to increase it, maybe not. But just so that that person, that kid, that adult is functional through life and living a good life, quality of life. All right, we have
Mm-hmm.
to, we're about to round off quickly now, and then you're going to have the last word. But I just want to read two things here. Jay Shelton says, "My son is on just sharing. My son is on Azatars. I'm sorry, I did not pronounce that well, so I'm just going to spell it: AZSTARYS, which is a new drug that is fast acting and long acting." And it has worked extremely well. The manufacturer also provides a coupon to get it for 50 dollars. That is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And um if you're just tuning in, that is good information right there. Please make more inquiries. It's AZSTARYS, and she says the manufacturer can provide coupon to get it for $50. And if you need it, and Adderall, I heard it may be scarce this day, so you may just want to consider things like that. Now, this is the notes we're going to be running. We're going to take this one, and then Kenzie is going to give us the final word. G. Shelton also says early medicinal intervention may allow an individual to develop strategies later in life. Yeah, it may allow an individual to develop strategies later in life because now, like, you've given that kid the help the kid needs at that point to be able to I mean, it's like I just see, like you said, before medication it was like a blow. And so when you give a kid a medication and then it's clear, now the kid can know that, oh, these are my weaknesses and these are the kind of things I need to focus on, because the brain, has cleared out enough to be able to, help them see these things well. So Kinsey, we have like 2 minutes to round off. In like a minute, can you tell us three things that you had to do to thrive as a neurodivergent, as an ADHD? Three things you've been practicing that has been working for you and is still working for you now, and just give parents the final word out there, and just share it with us before you leave.
Yes, thank you so much. So I feel like the first thing on the list of thriving is realizing that our brains are different. Your child's brains are different. My brain is different. Your loved ones are different with ADHD and neurodivergence and dyslexia and other mental issues. So just realizing it and not pushing it under the rug or dealing with it at a later time. You have to deal with it now. You have to look at what it can be affecting now. You have to fix it now. That was the first thing, is just realizing it. And that could be the hardest part. It could be the hardest pill to swallow as a parent. Um, that your child is different. And when I put it in quotations, it's because yes, their brains are different than others, but as a person, they could be excelling and creative and very like empathic and loving, and they go above and beyond in certain things. And yeah, they may not turn in their homework on time. They may not get understand mathematics, but they are going to excel in something. And then another thing is the strategies, how to help, the little things, the list, the sticky notes, the alarms, the constant reminders, the writing things here and there, the schedule on your phone, in your book, your little booklet on the wall, the calendars everywhere. That really helps a lot. And then having the support and the patience from your loved ones, from your your husband, your wife, whoever, your children, your friends, your family. So that support and their patience and grace and understanding, hey, they may have to wait a little bit longer for something to be done by you. They may have to just be patient and understand that you need to start this project 2 weeks ahead of most of all your other friends in school. And then also medication, I feel like, was a huge help for me. I think the third thing that really helped me thrive. And thriving is going to mean different things to people, but to me, thriving means functioning, because I believe in nursing school and college, in high school and junior high, I was not thriving. It put me into a state of anxiety, not being like the others. and it made me not function correctly because I wasn't able to turn in things on time, which caused, which was a chain reaction. And so that medication helped me function and thrive and realize that I can get these things done, which will make my life better. And I can excel in school and work and relationships. And so I think the meds, understanding, that this is a thing that you have and this is okay. And then also the support and the love from your family and friends.
So beautiful, so beautiful. You know what, Kenzie? The last time you came, I said Kenzie is going to be back, and I kind of have a feeling the same thing is going to repeat itself. Every time you call, many times we are like, these are the kind of things we want to talk about, and the show starts, and it's just like a different
Yes.
direction. So I kind of feel like it's almost going to be a regular thing to have Kenzie back, from time to time. To come share because she has like a wealth of knowledge that I've learned so much from you today. I'm sure many
Oh,
people
thank
also at home have learned from you. And I'm so thankful that we have people like you that are, advocating for the neurodivergent community and sharing your story and empowering many people out there. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm not going to say full goodbye. I'm just going to be like, I see you. I see you. I see you, Kinsey. We'll work on the schedule. We'll check it again and we'll see. It could be
Yes, thank you so much.
gonna have her back because she still has a few things she would have she would like to share. She has to share, and I know that because we discussed those things. But I want to appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. You're a blessing to our community. Thank you for sharing, for putting yourself out there. I know it's not easy, and I do not take it for granted. So thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for sharing your story with us. We want to appreciate everyone that has contributed in one way or the other. We want to appreciate Jonah, and we want to appreciate Lily, we want to appreciate Linda. Thank you everyone. We want to appreciate CX19XX. I'm guessing that's your fiance. Yeah.
Yes.
Appreciate him. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. If you try to call us and we couldn't answer, I'm so sorry. But thank you for being a part of our show. This is the Neurodivergent Show. We are live Fridays between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. Today's show was we had to fix a few things, but it's all settled now, thankfully. But usually we are live 7 to 8 p.m. Fridays, and we do things like this. We talk about ADHD, autism, dyslexia, OCD, the whole neurodivergent shebang. We do it all here. We take live commentaries. We just learn and we grow together. This is our safe haven, our safe space where we share stuff without being judged. We love our neurodivergent community and their families. Jay Shelton says, so encouraged. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. And have yourself
Thank
a
you so much.
day. Bye, guys.
Thank you for letting me share with y'all. Thank you.
Bye. See you soon.